Okay, we are live, you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Donovan Saadiq, the Inland Empire Informer, and I am back. It is hot, triple digits out here in the Inland Empire, and I want to introduce to you guys a very important person that I think that is going to change the game in the 42nd District. Okay, as we know, Ken Calvert has been a long-time representative in Congress. Owns a lot of property in the Inland Empire. I don't know how he owns all that property. I want to introduce you guys to a 42nd candidate, Liam O'Mara, and he's running in the 42nd district. And I'm telling you guys, I looked at this guy's platform. He wants to do a lot of progressive things. I wouldn't bring him on the show if I did not think you guys need to be introduced and know who this candidate is. So Liam, how you doing?
Good. Thanks very much. I'm happy to be here. And you mentioned Albert. Oh, boy. I mean, I tend to focus on my campaign on the positive stuff that I could do, like why should somebody care about me or support me? Sure. But questions about who's currently in there and what he's been doing to worsen our living standards for 28 years really should get out.
Right, absolutely. And speaking of 28 years, are you an original IE person, or how long have you been living in the IE, and a little bit about your background, any local high schools or?
I'm a Southern California native. I'm originally from the Long Beach area, so over in LA County, and then lived in Orange County for a while doing my my graduate work. I didn't get into college till I was 30, but I did my graduate work at UCI, and okay. And then moved out here afterwards. But I've had connections into the IE my entire life. My father's place is out in Yucca Valley, and my grandfather had a little place up in Wrightwood, where I've spent tons of time my whole life. So I've always been coming out here for everything.
Well, let's get into the meat and potatoes real quick. Let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you some questions, and just do the best you can. And by the way, I want to thank you for coming on the show, because for some reason, a lot of candidates that aren't on the up and up do not want to come on the show. And I don't know why, because I am as fair can be. Now, I'm not going to let you get away with stuff, but, I put it out there the best I can. So again, thank you for coming on the show. And for all my listeners and viewers, that says a lot about this candidate. He is not afraid to face the real questions and face the real issues. Okay.
That kind of accountability is a core issue for me. I think that too many people in politics have lost that sense of public service, that we are there to serve the people at their, behest, and instead see it as some kind of way to enrich themselves. So they have plenty of skeletons in their closet, plenty to hide. I do not.
Great. That's awesome. That's awesome. So here's my first question. It's really a combined two questions, but okay, what is the number one issue facing the district, and what is your primary focus of your campaign?
Okay, so the primary focus of the campaign is, for me, economic, because I see it as kind of like the center of a spider web that connects to tons of other issues that affect our daily lives and that I want to make positive change in. Whether you're talking about healthcare, criminal justice reform, tons of areas all intersect in this. And I mean, my background, I'm a historian. So for me, show me the data, show me the numbers, show me what's actually happened. For 40 years, we have been on the wrong course, and we have been ruining the real economy. And we've been listening to politicians and the media lie to us about what it is. Oh, the economy is great. The economy is great. The stock market was great. Everyone else is getting screwed. Our area has been growing rapidly. Throughout my life, the Inland Empire has taken off massively. I mean, okay, so I mentioned my father's place was in Yucca Valley. I mean, when I was a kid, there was almost nothing between Palm Springs and Indio, Right. Yucca Valley had a single stop sign, not even a stoplight anywhere. I mean, the population has been growing everywhere out here because the cost of living in LA and Orange County has been exploding, right? But all we're doing is transporting the same problems out here. So the cost of living is steadily climbing for people in the IE, while we're not creating good, sustainable jobs. Less than half the population in the IE make a living wage. That is absolutely unsustainable. So the key issue for me is really to go back to the drawing board, to look at the numbers, look at how it works all around the world and how it used to work in the US. We used to be number one in the world. We are 17th in living standards and falling.
Wow.
And people keep looking at like bogus numbers. If you look at like at GDP, right? So like the total, I mean, you're counting the billionaires in that. It doesn't count the fact that inequality has been taking off massively. The debt is increasing. The poverty is increasing. I mean, if you look at the policies we followed in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, we took 10% off the national poverty rate. Since the Reagan Revolution, it has been climbing steadily. And that to me, it's a major problem for the IE, but it's also a major problem for the entire country. I want to lower our healthcare costs. I want to lower our housing costs. I want to increase our wages and let us keep more of our own tax money. There's so many areas that are all interconnected for me.
Oh, that's awesome. I like the way that sounds. And just a quick follow-up to that question. What kind of jobs do you think that we should be attracting to the IE? Because all I see is a lot of warehouses and a lot of trucks.
Yeah, we're basically looked at as like a transit area and a dumping ground for the other counties. And I mean, that's not fair to the people who live out here already. And it's certainly not fair to the people who are moving out here as well. I mean, we deserve the same kind of deal that they're getting. And those jobs that are being created, I mean, the businesses keep selling it. Let us in, give us all kinds of tax breaks. We'll create jobs. That is bullshit, because every one of those jobs is going to be replaced by robots and computers. None of it is.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I was saying that 8 years ago when we were fighting the World Logistics Center, and we're still fighting the World Logistics Center to this very day.
Yep.
Because now with this pandemic, it's a perfect excuse to bring in robots.
Yes. I mean, okay, so first off, we already knew before the pandemic that 47% of American jobs are at risk of automation and disappearing in the next 10 to 15 years. That's already insane, given that politicians are not talking about it. I've already seen good analysis coming from, think tanks on the left and right, even like, your Fortune magazine and whatnot here, Bloomberg and whatnot. They're already talking about somewhere around 40 to 45% of the jobs lost in this pandemic will probably never come back. They'll simply be replaced, because it's putting more pressure on that business cycle. More and more of like the simple fast food type jobs that get replaced by kiosks and whatnot. More of the warehouses will install robots. We're going to be written out, and people have been deluding themselves into thinking it's just manufacturing. And there's so many things that bug me about the way we let Republicans get away with messaging things. I mean, the taxes is a big one there. They're not cutting taxes. They've been raising our taxes and only lowering them for the rich, but whatever. This whole idea of jobs is another one. I mean, it's a giant scam. We're not paying attention to what we actually need in this area, and the fact that all these things are going to go away. And they just want to blame other people. They'll blame immigrants or China and trade and whatnot here. The U.S. manufactures more today than we ever have before. Manufacturing hasn't disappeared in the U.S. It's just been automated. Right. And instead of investing in education and in retraining schemes and in taking care of people by paying them more so they can work less, we have instead been leaving more and more and more people behind.
Correct. That's very correct. Let me ask you this: why should voters trust you over the sitting incumbent?
Well, I guess you can start with the fact that I know a lot of these struggles firsthand. You know, I'm not from a well-off family. No one in my family had ever gotten a college degree before I did. And it was difficult for all. I mean, I'm massively in debt like so many other people are. Household debt, consumer debt in the United States is insane because we're being left behind. My generation is the first one in American history not to do better than its parents' generation, to actually be worse off than the boomers. The millennials are worse off than Gen X. The Gen Z or whatever that's coming after the millennials will be even worse off. If we don't pay attention to those issues, we're not going to get anywhere. And the big problem for me is that everyone in this game, almost, right? They're all feeding off that same corrupt corporate teat. They're all eating out of the same trough. They're all taking that same dirty money, which means they serve them. I've been joking forever that the people we have in Congress should be wearing NASCAR jackets, showing us who their owners are, because it's not us. They don't care about the voters. And our incumbent, he symbolizes that swamp better than anybody. He doesn't answer questions. People can call him. People ask on social media. Answers nothing, because he doesn't care. He's going to raise $1 million from some land developers and defense contractors. He's going to sit on his butt, run some ads on the radio, and just coast on our dime.
Yeah, well, what I think is really
is I'm not interested in taking that same dirty money.
Right. You know, what really perplexes me about Ken Calvert is he has a house in the district, but that isn't the house that he actually lives in. He actually lives in a bigger house next to the donors and all that other good stuff. So, you know, but let me follow that question up real quick. You win the election. You go to Washington. Are you representing the 42nd district? Are you representing the Democratic Party?
I'm representing the people of the 42nd district and the voters of this country. I'm not a partisan person by nature. I mean, this whole tribal fighting that people have had going on in this country drives me nuts because it's never made any sense to me personally, which is to me a good reason to get involved in politics. I think we need more people that feel that way in it, but it's one of the things that makes it so difficult to get involved because everyone wants the person that's just like my team, right or wrong. And to me, it's the data. It just so happens that the arguments we make from the progressive side of the Democratic Party tend to match the data. So yeah, that's where I am. But it's the numbers that matter. It's the evidence that matters. It's the history and the policy that matters to me. So I am always going to pay attention to that.
Okay, great. You know, we're here in the IE. You're going to be representing the 42nd district. It's a known fact that we have a high Hispanic population out here. And of course, we are also attracting a lot of homelessness into the IE from LA, the gentrification out in LA. Now, the question that I have to ask you as a candidate, I'm nonpartisan. I used to be a Democrat, but I got out of that business. I can't be a Republican because I'm not rich enough. And then I'm black too. So that, no, but anyway.
Yeah, I did the opposite there. I was a lifelong progressive independent and always voted in Democratic primaries, but didn't really think of it. Yeah. I joined the party to try and help fix the party.
Right. Exactly. So, you know, you have a lot of dreamers out here. You have a lot of people who are Mexican citizens that have not yet gotten American citizenship. What is your take on the immigration issue here in Southern California? Forget the district, just in Southern California, because your district has a high Hispanic population, and that's just how it is. What's your take on that, and what can you do to help that situation?
Okay, so in asking that, you actually brought up another question too. So I want to comment on the housing question briefly, because we have a massive homelessness issue and we have massively overpriced housing, which is pushing more and more people out on the street anyway, or into housing insecurity where they're moving constantly or in short-term residences. The solution to the housing issue, the solution to homelessness is to house people. It's not to jerk around with money and all kinds of relief centers. It's put someone in an apartment now. If you give somebody that stability, study after study has shown 80% of people have no trouble putting their lives back together, rebuilding that sense of like self-sufficiency, and then, you know, it's taken care of. And even if they don't, even if they weren't, we spend more money on enforcing and trying to take care of services for homeless people than it would cost just to house them anyway. It's like literally if they never got their lives back in order, it would still be cheaper for the taxpayer to just provide housing for them. When at the same time, you know, people are going to fix their lives anyway, it's a no-brainer from me. As far as immigration, you know what? The easiest way I can put that, and I'm going to be pretty blunt about that, the whole thing's a scam. It's literally a scam invented by the right in order to scare people and to whip up nativist votes. Until we started heavily policing that border, we didn't even have a large undocumented population. Right. We literally locked people in the country because they couldn't safely return home. You know, so it created a problem. And then at that point, they can mine that problem year after year to say, look, they're here. And like, as if that was a problem. And never mind the fact that the undocumented population is paying tons in taxes and get no benefits out from it. Like, well, they get benefits. They get to go to school, or the kids go to school or whatever. Well, like, that's kind of a benefit for the society. Because do you really want people with no education or basic skills, like no schooling at all? I mean, the whole thing is concocted as a scam to manipulate emotions. And it gets back again to the question of sustainable jobs. Immigrants have not been taking jobs. Study after study show that immigrants either have a neutral effect on the job market or they literally create jobs, because the foreign-born have higher rates of entrepreneurship than the native-born. Because, and that's not something about the cultures or anything like that. It's a personal issue. If you're willing to leave your home and start over somewhere else with a whole different language and culture, you're a self-starter by nature. You're a hardworking person, and you're willing to put that time in. So they're more likely to come here and start businesses and employ people, which means it's a net benefit, except for that emotional issue, the thing, the scary other issue. And to me, a lot of that just gets back to exposure, education, spending time around people, and for God's sake, break the cycle and stop giving into Republican rhetoric. Way too many Democrats fall into the same trap. They're afraid to challenge Republicans on this. They're afraid to challenge anything to do with borders or immigration. So it basically just hands ammunition to a rising neo-fascist movement. The immigration issue is one of the things that's contributed to a neo-fascist ideology taking over the formerly conservative Republican Party.
Exactly. In regards to the Dreamers and DACA, they're still, Trump is reversing all that stuff and all like that. What is your stance on people brought here, as children, getting a pathway to citizenship? I'm for it. I mean, they're here at no fault of their own. So what's the problem?
To me, there's no question at all. I mean, that we're debating this at all is just a surrender to that racist rhetoric that is, again, feeding a fascist revival. Give them citizenship, period. That's it. They grew up here. This is their country. This is their home. The whole idea that you could say, well, they should go back somewhere. What? You came here as a child. You went to school in the U.S. This is your home. And the advantage to it, to the society as a whole, is just, it's just off the charts. You're basically bringing people out of the shadows and out of the informal economy. They'll pay more into taxes because, a lot of people use fake Social Security to pay federal taxes, but others do not. Everyone will be paying into federal taxes as well as the local taxes that they already pay in the sales taxes. So they would basically be paying for the benefits and helping out. I mean, it's a win-win all around. But we have to be willing to confront the bogus arguments.
Well, I want to also to tell my listeners, look at the bottom of the organizational tape, and liamomara.org is his webpage. Please go there, check it out, like, donate, and share. And I'm also going to tell those people in the 42nd district that is of Hispanic origin, if you want a candidate that is for your agenda, this is the candidate. Ken Calvert is not for immigration. He is not for DACA.
No, he is for, let's rock the buses and terrify asylum seekers. Ken Calvert has been playing with race baiting rhetoric for his entire career. And, yeah, exactly. I am for protecting the people of this district and the people who want to live here and make this their home. I will be their champion.
Absolutely. Now, we are going through this pandemic right now. And I got a person with a question here, and they say, how has COVID affected your campaign?
Oh, boy. Yeah, it certainly has. We were intending to basically knock every door we could and keep going back until we got to talk to everybody, and that's not going to happen. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter if they relax the restrictions. The fact that we're going to keep getting second and third waves of this, and that in the autumn it'll be worse than the wave we're going to have in the summer here because viruses are more active when it's cooler. I'd be modeling bad behavior if I said let's go out there and interact. What we have to do is hit people in every other possible way. Phone banks, so we're calling everybody we can to get the non-voters, the newly registered voters, the independents. Text banking, so we'll be sending text messages out, sending out emails, advertising on social media, everything we can do to try and reach the people that we need to reach. But it's definitely a very different strategy, and it's certainly affected my campaign, and I'd imagine most campaigns in the country because, officially our employment rate's somewhere around 15%. Realistically, it's more like 20%. It's the economy is still in trouble here. We're in a recession. Fewer people are able to help out. So it's definitely led to some belt tightening in terms of running things here. But if we want real change, and if we want change that's actually going to have a direct impact on our economy, on our lives, I mean, I want to put money back in people's pockets, right? And I will fight for that in Washington, in the media, and everywhere I can to try and get these ideas out there, to lower the cost of housing, healthcare, increase our wages. So in a sense, investing in clean candidates is an investment. We're trying to actually improve ourselves here, but it has made things difficult. I won't deny that.
Okay, great. And by the way, you're running on the Democratic ticket, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a Democrat, how much support have you been getting from the Democratic Party?
This is one of the things that has actually been, in many ways, pretty gratifying to me, because I sort of expected, being an outsider and a relatively progressive nerd, that I would have struggled a lot more. But the Democratic clubs embraced me across the board. I got tons of club endorsements. The county party supported me in their pre-endorsement caucus. It basically decides who they're going to recommend to the state Democratic Party to be their candidate. It was unanimously for me. There were 3 candidates on the ballot and no endorsement. Every single vote went to me. So people themselves have been very supportive of me. But as far as like the national Democratic infrastructure, no, not really. But that's a problem that a lot of progressive challengers tend to face, and certainly people in red districts.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell the listeners and the viewers, it is very hard to get a unanimous vote all the way down in the Democratic groups, within those groups. And, for somebody to do that, that means wholeheartedly this person reflects number one, the Democratic ideals, as well as some progressive ideas. So you must have hit all of the angles that they're looking for in a candidate. So, big ups to you on that.
It's one of the reasons that I got involved in this, and one of the things that's so important to me in doing this, is that for purple and red districts in this country, frequently the Democratic Party doesn't want to get involved. And we used to dominate the heartland of this country. Farm country used to be solidly Democratic and progressive. And we walked away from that because we stopped talking about kitchen table issues that affected people's lifestyle, their cost of living. We stopped engaging. I want to try and show that we can, that you absolutely can, that we can run just as hard in Nebraska and Kansas as we can here.
Sure. Absolutely. I'm going to give you an off-the-wall question that really interests me. Now, I'm a veteran, served 24 years in the military. The Inland Empire is the 7th biggest veteran area in the United States. Yeah. We have Loma Linda. They're doing a lot of upgrades over there and things like that. And they're making a lot of outpatient centers and stuff. For veterans and getting their support, what is your stance in dealing with veterans in the area? Because you're going to deal with a lot of them. And Ken Calvert gets a lot of his support from the veterans in the area.
Yeah, which has been actually a source of real frustration for me just in following the data here, because the Republican Party has done everything it possibly can to screw veterans at every step of the way. Defunding any kind of benefits and support for them, denying medical conditions. And we put people in hazardous environments overseas, and then we just pretend it didn't happen to get back because they don't want to spend any money on Americans. They want to wave the flag and get people to rally around that and the soldiers, but they don't actually care about the men and women in our armed forces. And I have a lot of veterans in my family. I had actually joined the Navy way back in the 90s, but they found I was asthmatic when I collapsed in a precision drill. So that didn't work out very well for me. But my brother spent a number of years in the Air Force. I had uncles in the Navy. My grandfather's a Marine. Serving your country is honorable. Being screwed by your government for serving your country is dishonorable. And that's Ken Calvert in a nutshell. Absolutely.
There's been a lot of talk over here at March Air Reserve Base. It's a very active base, but it's a reserve base. It's in caretaker status. You got a lot of veterans out here who can't use their benefits. You have to go to Camp Pendleton or down to San Diego or into LA Air Station. So, you got a reserve base. Yeah, we have a BX and a commissary, but it's not really being used. And you've got a 29 Palms, you've got Camp Pendleton, you got these Marines that got to get to the fight. Mm-hmm. And they closed a lot of bases in the 90s. What would be your stance as a congressman into possibly, for strategic purposes, reopening March Air Reserve Base, or, because it doesn't make sense not to have an active duty mobility base in a long state like Southern California. In California, you got Travis up north, but you've got 3 major Marine bases here in the South being manned by basically a reserve base. So what would be your stance on possibly, lobbying to get March or a base reopened to service the strategic initiative, as well as for us veterans to utilize a base?
Yeah, I guess it really depends on what we specifically mean there, because I would like to see a lot of bases essentially repurposed to support the veteran population and to support the society as a whole. To be frank, the United States does not have any actual enemies who can really threaten the homeland here. It's not like North Korea is going to land troops in the port of Los Angeles and march inland. Right? Red Dawn is a fantasy movie. It's like Game of Thrones.
Right.
Makes sense. But those bases are useful, and the resources need to go to the men and women who support things. The fact that we have homeless veterans is a scandal to me. Put them in housing on the bases, provide services, help those men and women get their lives back in order there. And I would like to shift a lot of the one of the problems that we've always had, and this becomes another area where you fall into rhetorical traps. People on the right are like, pro-defense spending, yes, more and more money for the military, which is basically just welfare for defense corporations, but whatever. And then people on the left are like, close the bases, we don't need the soldiers or whatever. And they're both kind of like missing the point, because what the military industrial complex has done is they have spread jobs all across the country, so you cannot shut anything down without affecting the employment in the area. And we have put so many people through the military itself that there are so many veterans who depend upon those services. And now if you close bases, there are people all across this country, especially in more rural areas, that can't access services. They have to drive hours to actually get their benefits. So, and closing the bases was a disservice to them. The trick for me is I want to take care of those men and women, but I want to repurpose some of that. I want to shift some of that spending to actually stimulating the real economy and helping people here, not just throwing it into profits for Raytheon and Boeing.
Gotcha. Another real quick question that came up, it's on the comments. It says, what is your stance on warehousing and the trucks in the Inland Empire?
Depends on what you mean exactly by that, but it's certainly seen a major spike in our pollution levels and traffic levels because we're this transit corridor for people. And a lot of the corporations using these things are not paying their taxes. They're not even supporting the roads, much less helping us to mitigate the pollution. So tax the businesses that are using those roads and laying those things out there. And then as those warehouses start becoming more and more automated anyway, tax the damn robots and give that money to people out here. The space is going to be used. The warehouses, it makes some sense to build it somewhere. Why are we not benefiting from that? Instead of giving them tax breaks and incentives and letting them basically take over territory, add pollution, wear down our roads while we give them free money, they should be paying us for the privilege of putting those things here, and that money should be given directly to people.
Absolutely. One question that I have just outside of the ordinary is, we're in Moreno Valley here where I live. We're inundated with warehouses off the 215. It's the whole corridor is just empty warehouses. They build it, they will come, whatever. So when you get to Congress, I'm not saying we shouldn't have, I'm not against, logistics and warehouses, but I am for jobs. And one of the things, Tesla and the Amazon headquarters, everybody was trying to get it. Remember that a couple of years ago, everybody was trying to get it in the local area. And Tesla said that they couldn't build anything or bring their headquarters to Moreno Valley or Riverside because we didn't have the educational level. Mm-hmm. So as far as education, you're somebody who has a degree, you've been to college. They say our education level is not enough to bring a factory here to develop Tesla and bring headquarters here. What is your educational plan in regards to making our schools better or bringing the money to make our schools better? I mean, what are we lacking?
I mean, you're hitting a really important issue for me, actually, given that one of the things that drives me to get involved in the first place is that I have to look my students in the eyes and realize that they don't have the same opportunities that previous generations of Americans did. But, I mean, you look around in the 42nd district and there are 0 universities, like literally 0. We just don't have one. So anybody here that wants to go off to college has to leave the area to do it. We've got 2 satellite campuses we've got 1 community college and a satellite community college, mm-hmm. and 0 universities. So it does create a deficit there. And I mean, okay, so we mentioned, warehouses, factories, things like that. There are always tons of jobs open in manufacturing in the U.S. that go unfilled because we do not have the technical skills. One of the reasons that the Germans or a lot of the Nordic countries have such low unemployment rates consistently is that they invest in the workers and train them for the jobs in which they're still competitive. We just let people fall by the wayside. If an industry collapses, I mean, think of like coal country or whatever, it's not their fault that the world moved away from coal, but it's our fault that we didn't reinvest in those people and give them a new opportunity. We didn't bring jobs to them. So education is a part of that, but it's not just college. I want tuition-free public universities. I want tuition-free public colleges like the JCs, and I want tuition-free trade schools because we're always going to need electricians and plumbers and everything else here. Mm-hmm. Instead of people graduating with $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 in debt, getting an education to get into one of these careers should be a path into the middle class. Today, it's a path into poverty. If you are carrying that much debt around your neck from having graduated, you're not investing in housing or buying a house. You're not buying the new car. You're not remodeling anything. It slows the entire economy down. Forgive that debt and make education affordable again. I want a Cal State in the 42nd. We've got tons of open areas that you mentioned. Okay, so the freeway corridors or whatever. What about some of the area in between? Some of the open land like in between like Lake Elsinore and Paris. Plop mm-hmm. a Cal State there, and we would actually be able to educate people in this area, expand in trade schools in this area, and build a workforce that can take those jobs of tomorrow. I mean, I would connect that also to green power initiatives. One of the reasons that the homeless population is shooting up here is you can actually sleep outside all year round out here. Well, that kind of means we have a nice balmy climate, right? Plenty of sunshine. Mm-hmm. Why don't we have big solar farms and wind farms? Ken Calvert's a good part of the reason for that. He'd rather take the dirty money from the fossil fuel companies and not invest in the jobs of tomorrow and not put people to work here. That's kind of a long-winded answer to your question. No, that's exactly what people need to hear now, and that's good on the collegiate level, secondary after leaving high school. What is your thoughts on bringing vocation back into the high schools? Well, like I said, I want tuition-free trade schools. And one of the things you can do is actually do some of that in the high schools. Now, it can be a little rigid at times, but I honestly think that there are some benefits to the German model of letting people be sort of sorted a little bit as they're going through and determine where they want to go career option-wise, and then being able to start classes in high school in different trades and then go right onto a trade school and a good job. Or, do college prep stuff and then go straight onto college from high school. But either way, everyone in high school has an opportunity to go beyond, and the high school itself is putting the time into figuring out how to help people, because not everyone wants to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. People have different goals in life, so help people figure out what makes the most sense for them and then prepare them to succeed. So yes, the per capita spending in education has been collapsing. California used to have among the best schools in the country. We're near the bottom now. And that's simply because we've been cutting spending across the board. Cutting federal spending and state spending can't keep up with it. And when the states have to keep, we already in California subsidize a lot of red states in this country because the federal tax system is so screwed up. So I want to fix the federal tax system put the taxes back on the rich where they belong, and that would lower the taxes on ordinary people here in California, so we wouldn't have the constant exodus of people, and we'd be able to invest in those jobs and in that education.
Awesome. That's awesome. Here's a question for you. What are the biggest changes your district has undergone since the 2016 election?
Well, it's just part of a long-term trend. I mean, the population has been growing massively for quite some time, so the demography has been changing. We have a much larger foreign-born population. We have a much larger Hispanic population, and there's tons of bedroom communities that have sprouted up of people who have moved from LA and Orange County. And one of the challenges for a lot of the politics out here is to reach people and say, you know what, you could just update your voter registration and, get involved again. I mean, registration, places like, say, Menifee that have just shot up from the tiny little Sun City to now a city of about 100,000 people, the voter turnout there is tiny because a lot of people just didn't bother to redo their registration. It's a conservative area, it doesn't matter, I won't bother getting involved here. We need to reach them and say, dude, get involved, re-register. And then we need to do better at outreach to different communities. So for a lot of the growing foreign-born population, I've done a lot of outreach to, say, the local mosques to try and get some of that population involved there. We do our phone banking is bilingual, so we will call and text directly in Spanish to the Spanish-speaking population in the district because it has changed. And the district as a whole, the area as a whole, the Inland Empire, has been getting more and more blue from being purple. The 42nd has been a little bit of a holdout because a lot of people still don't vote. But the population's there. What I want people to understand, what I want your listeners to understand is that we are easily a purple district already, but not enough of us vote, particularly the youth, particularly the working class, particularly the Hispanic populations. We just don't turn up, which means we let a tiny conservative core in places like Murrieta dictate what happens in the entire district. That has to change.
One of the biggest questions that I think a lot of people that are involved in politics, like myself, like yourself, and people that are, paying attention and are aware, is money in politics. It shouldn't cost at a local level you to have to raise $1.5 million just to run for Congress, at the local level. And we know that that's the kind of money that's being thrown out there. So what is your stance on money in politics and term limits? So 2 questions in one.
Yeah, 2 questions. Okay, and a more complicated one than people often think. My perspective on term limits is that it's essentially trying to solve the wrong problem. People stay in politics for so long frequently because it's so dirty, because they can make tons of cash at it. Ken Calvert is certainly a great example of that. This is extremely lucrative for him. He makes a good salary. He gets tons of donations. He gets a nice lifestyle. And he has a really low work requirement. Right. The corrupt money is the real problem. If we can get the money out of it, then the people who get in politics are there for public service. Originally, Congress didn't even get a salary.
Right.
Which is good in a way because it wasn't intended to be a career, but bad too because it meant that poorer people couldn't run. Only the idle rich could afford to be in Congress and not work. So the salaries make a great deal of sense, but the corruption involved in campaign finance does not. I want public funding for elections, period. I would like lobbying to disappear or go back to its original meaning, to lobby someone meaning to hey, I think you should support my initiative. And you go and you talk to them in their office. But lobbying in the sense of here's an envelope worth of cash, go to this conference in Tahiti with your family, and then we'll talk to you about this bill that we wrote for you to introduce. That's bullshit. Right? That needs to be banned straight out. And the only way to do that, and this is the hard part, the only way to do that is to replace the people who are currently dependent upon it. Which means we have to put in the work to flip some of these districts without raising the 1.5 million. Because if you're taking that much money, you're taking it from corporations and wealthy special interests. And as soon as you take that money, slap on your patches because they're your owners, not the voters. If we elect enough clean people that want public service to be an application that serves the public interest directly, we put people like that in office, we can change the laws to ban this corruption outright.
I agree. I don't know if you remember in the assembly, there was a lady named Cheryl Brown. She was the editor of the Black Voice newspaper. It was like the second largest or oldest Black newspaper in the United States. They started calling her Chevron Cheryl Brown. She took the money, went to Hawaii with her family, and it was just a big mess. And I kind of helped get her out of there too. So like I said, again, he is on my show. And if you come on my show, you got nothing but respect from me, because it's not easy. Not that I'm going to, get you, but, I want to see good candidates out there. Final question real quick. Current events. We are having you're a Long Beach, Southern California guy, just like me. We know our police department here is very, very out there. Riverside Police Department is the second brutalist police department next to LAPD. So we're having all these protests happen right now. And what is your stance? And this is a big question for you, because these police unions are very powerful. They are very powerful. So what is your stance?
Now, one of the problems there is that, like so many other areas, it's a complex, interconnected web of different problems. And one of my positions in politics in general, and I try to give people metaphors for this all the time, like slapping a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage just isn't going to work. We're always putting Band-Aids by attacking very small parts of the problem, and never willing to tackle things more systemically. Let's talk about all the different interconnected pieces that make up this whole. So policing in general. One of the reasons that the police end up having to fulfill so many different functions, they end up as first responders in so many places where they realistically have no business being in the first place, often by their own admission because they don't have the training for it, is that no one else is available because we have cut so many social services and we're not taking care of people. And you throw in, people that aren't trained for that, things are not going to go right a lot of times. We also have tended to militarize way too much policing. We keep buying surplus military stuff. LAPD is quite famous for recruiting ex-military people, which means that's your approach to policing. But policing from my perspective, just as a sort of like philosophical argument, and honestly, I would hope to address this to the law enforcement community as a whole. It is and is supposed to be a noble vocation where you're serving the community interest. To serve and protect is supposed to mean something. When you have essentially community policing, people coming out of the neighborhoods who want to take care of those neighborhoods, you're actually helping out. And that's what policing really ought to be, a service that helps out the community, not a sort of outside service that often acts as a kind of almost occupying force because we recruit sort of nationally, draw people in that have no real connections to the area, give them tons of military equipment, put them in situations they don't need to be in. And then on top of that, we give them so many laws to enforce that just encourage corruption. The war on drugs is a huge problem for me. I mean, to say nothing of the fact that it was deeply corrupt and racist to begin with. It was like, help out the lumber industry. Let's put more black people in jail. The whole thing's nonsense. But the incentives there are massive. If it's illegal, it creates an incentive for gangs and cartels to get involved because it's profitable. Since it's profitable, then the police have to go after it. Then they have an incentive for like civil asset forfeiture to basically get involved and seize things, which simply encourages corruption. It's similar to me to politics because, honestly, a lot of the people who get into politics really wanted to do something good. They wanted to help out. A lot of people who get into law enforcement really wanted to do something good. But the system corrupts you once you're in it. It puts you in situations that encourage bad behavior instead of encouraging good behavior. So we really have to go back and tackle some of the core problems. Right? Remove some of the unnecessary laws here, help out the social services so that people get the care that they actually need and don't really need this. And for God's sake, take care of the economy for ordinary people, because you know what? When people are better off, crime rates go down. Period. End of story. Crime is not a minority thing, an immigrant thing, or whatever thing. It's a poverty issue. If we take care of people, we won't need militarized cops patrolling the streets in the same way that they do.
Wow, that's deep. Hey, you guys, liamomara.org. You guys go to and check out his website. I mean, the guy is deep, intelligent. I'm impressed. Wants to make some changes. We're in the 21st century. Why the hell do we still have somebody who is from the 60s and he's still in charge and doing the bare minimum? Okay. But here's a question that just came up, and then this ain't a gotcha question. What do you do for your free time? What's your favorite thing to do?
Oh, jeez. Well, I'm a bit of a nerd, so I read a lot. The running joke has always been that my house is nothing but books and cats, just bookcases and cats. So there's that. But I enjoy like geeky television series. You know, I'll watch like the Doctor Who's and Star Treks and that kind of stuff. I enjoy going for walks with my animals and whatnot. And before the pandemic, obviously, I love live music. So I'd be out at like metal shows, punk shows, or whatever. There, just out there taking.
Coachella.
Yeah, I mean, I love all kinds of music, really. And just getting out there and doing that and feeling that energy, it really matters to me. So that's one thing that I miss about the current situation. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Favorite color?
Ooh, probably green. Yeah.
Favorite team?
Ooh, I don't know that I really have one. I mean, I've been to, a number of local things. I mean, again, I came originally from LA County, so I'd go up and to Dodgers games and whatnot every now and then, cheer on the hometown team, that sort of thing. But I never got into the whole favorite team thing for the same reason. I guess I'm less tribal in politics.
Absolutely. Favorite president?
Ooh, they all have their problems. One of the problems of being a historian is the good sides, and you also really know all their dirty secrets. But if you can set aside some of the problems and just look at some of the impact overall, I have a lot of respect for FDR, because when faced with a challenge, he was willing to experiment. It's basically like just keep throwing darts at the wall until one sticks and takes care of the problem. Mm-hmm. Don't just mess around or take things ideologically. Like the Hoover administration was, we're doing it right. We're doing it the right way. Well, sometimes the right way doesn't work. If it's not getting the right results, get in there and experiment, try to fix it. And that willingness to sort of think outside the box, that's respectable to me.
Okay, last question I see here. Donald Trump will be out of office. When you are still in office, are you for prosecution?
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, he's already going to run into problems with some of the states. I'll tell you that. To me, it's not. How do I put this? It's not really a Trump issue per se. I think the people, the powerful people in this country, whether in politics or just wealthy people in general, get away with murder on a routine basis. And I think that anything that I could be prosecuted for or you can be prosecuted for, they should be as well, just because they can hire fancy lawyers. The whole point of our legal system was that we were equal under the law. We broke the old feudal system where you had different legal systems based upon what social class you were in. But because, he can hire $1 million lawyer, he's going to get off every time. I find that unjust. Any crime you can find should be prosecuted. So, that's true for anybody, though.
Okay, well, hey, you guys, I'm talking with a 42nd district candidate, Liam O'Mara, a younger guy, highly intelligent, highly qualified, I believe. I'm impressed. I'm in the 41st district, but I can slide over there and vote for you if you need me to. But in the end, in conclusion, what would you like to say to everybody out there to vote for you, or it's your time, you got it?
I guess what I want to do is I want to give a sense of hope, and I think that for progressive politics in this area, that's often lacking. We have a tendency to look around and see, okay, it's a long-term incumbent. There's Republicans everywhere and whatnot. That is that way because we're not involved. Demographically, we can flip this district. But it takes people stepping up and giving the price of a coffee a month to help out the different campaigns in their area, helping out for an hour on the weekends in a phone bank, talking to their friends and pay attention to these issues. We can do this. And I think that there's a sense that it comes from on top in some ways. The big national organizations tend to ignore us. They pretend the 42nd doesn't exist. And it does. And we should be paying attention to districts like this because they are so much like so much of America, with an essentially purple electorate where you have to get involved and talk to people and win on the merits of the arguments. And if we get involved, we can get change in this area here. I mean, the numbers are there. Absolutely. I got into this race not to be a placeholder. I'm a nerd. I'm an academic. I didn't come into this just to like toot my own horn because I care about me. I got into this because this can be won and we can better all of our lives. But it's going to take all hands on deck, so to speak.
Absolutely. Website, donations.
Yeah, so the liamomara.org has been floating along. I keep seeing on the bottom of the screen there. At the top of that, on the top of the webpage, there's a couple of links you can get to directly there. There's a donate and volunteer one. The volunteer one is like a form you fill in with the kinds of things you'd be interested in doing, and then someone on our field team contacts you and sees where you can help out or when you want to. The donate one just goes like to an ActBlue link, or you can get to it like bit.ly/Liam donate. It's a nice, easy one to remember there. We also do, every week we do a virtual town hall because I believe in accountability and addressing people directly. I'm also very responsive on social media because I think you should be. But every week I have on different guests and we talk about different issues and take questions. You can watch it live on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, whatever. But you can also go to the bit.ly links and actually join the Zoom and just kind of like be there and toss questions into the chat. Tomorrow we're talking about universal basic income. I've got a couple of candidates. I've got a candidate in LA in the 34th, David Kim, coming on, and then James Ellers, who founded an organization that's helping to push the idea here. And then we're going to have a great conversation on how this could actually help the economy as a whole.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Again, and I'm going to be contacting your campaign guy to get some of your stuff and highlight it on the page and get the word out. You guys, again, the Liam O'Mara, 42nd District, going up against Ken by my cold, dead hands, Calvert. I mean, 28 years on the seat. I mean, what more can you do after 28 years? I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I think we're at a thing where we need to do something different.
It's not even that he's not done much. It's that he's literally doing the wrong things. Ken Calvert raised our taxes out here. Ken Calvert has increased the pollution in the area and the traffic out here. He brags that, I got a new off-ramp off the freeway. No, your housing developments are the problem.
Right.
He's actively making our lives worse, and we need to draw some attention to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys, again, 42nd District candidate Liam O'Mara. Mr. Liam, thank you so much for coming on the show. I am going to be in contact. Again, you're welcome to come on the show anytime. I like what you're saying. I'm going to go to your webpage. I'm going to make some donations, maybe get some of my people over there to the 42nd. I'm just playing politics. I know how it works.
I have a terrible there, so you're fine.
Yeah. So, but everybody, you guys check him out. I think he's the real deal. We need we need actually new leaders for the 21st century to lead the Inland Empire into the 21st century. We can't do that having the same people who were there in the 20th century still on the seat. We need to do something a little bit different with new ideas, new thoughts. Hey, you guys, I'm Donovan Saadiq. I'm the Black Yule Brenner, and I'm also known as the Inland Empire Informer. You have just been informed. We're going to talk to you guys again later.
Thanks very much.